The Xbox and Bethesda showcase is behind us. We got 95 minutes of gameplay reveals, new details, and of course, the absolutely epic first look at Starfield. And although Starfield, in my eyes, did look pretty amazing, and I want to talk about what I actually liked and didn't like about what we saw, I also want to talk about the showcase overall, and some of the things I liked and didn't really like about this showcase, and even just things like where is Avowed, and even some of the leaks that just came out that may give us a pretty good idea as to what's going on with Avowed. I feel pretty mixed about the showcase in general. I absolutely loved the concept and kind of theming of the showcase. It was very pointed, very directed, and you just kind of saw gameplay after gameplay of games. They described how basically everything you're seeing during this showcase is coming in the next 12 months. We're not getting trailers for games that are 2-3 years out now. Everything's going to be coming out before June 12th, 2023, including Starfield. And there was definitely a clear focus on gameplay all throughout, actually showing us the games, and I love that. But at the same time, I didn't always feel like that gameplay was great, and especially on the Bethesda side, I feel like things were really lacking. For something that was called the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, the Bethesda side was incredibly weak, or at least it was until Starfield, because that was epic, but the rest of what Bethesda had to show off didn't excite me at all. Things started off with Redfall, which did not suck me in whatsoever. Redfall's a game we don't know a ton about, and even after their gameplay, I still don't feel like I know a ton about it. The gameplay overall felt very generic. It's one of those 4-person co-op games where you're fighting vampires, but it kind of just felt very similar to all of those other 4-person zombie games. A different take on Left 4 Dead. This time around, you have some magical abilities mixed in, and really just more extreme abilities in general. I feel like Redfall did look like one of those games that'll be a ton of fun with a few friends on a Friday or Saturday night, but I still feel like I know very little about the game, and what we saw didn't excite me. And for Fallout 76 and ESO, they could have just shown nothing. That was definitely more of an advertisement, because when you actually look at the new information, technically speaking, both the Fallout 76 and the ESO things shown off, you could already play, or at least some people can already play them. Fallout 76's new DLC is already in the public test server, and I have a full video on my experience and why I don't actually like it that much. And the ESO trailer was for a DLC that is already out on PC. It has a staggered release on console, so it's coming out there shortly. And though for me, 3 out of the 4 Bethesda announcements didn't land, the 4th one really landed. I had hopes and expectations for Starfield, and some of those were actually pretty high. I'm pretty excited for the game, but this blew me away. Like, if you would have asked me a couple of days ago if some of these things would be features, I would have said there's no way there's going to be 1,000 planets or there's going to be full-on ship customization, but no, they are really doing it. This first look at Starfield, this gameplay we got, was the first time I really felt like I was taking a look at the next generation of gaming. Between the visuals, the customization, the new settlement system, and even just some of the RPG elements that Bethesda is bringing back. The settlement system in particular gets me very hyped. I used to be a huge fan of the real-time settler mod for New Vegas, and this seems to be much closer to that, where you actually build up settlements, have people work there, and kind of generate resources, and they have a larger purpose. Definitely a huge upgrade over what was there in Fallout 4, and it just looks like one of those things that you could probably dump 100 hours into in its own right. Okay, that's probably an exaggeration, but there's definitely a fair few of you that are watching right now that will dump 100 hours just into this feature. Not to mention that vast diversity of planets. There's literally 1,000 of them. And just how good those landscapes looked. We of course saw a ton of concept art of Starfield before this new gameplay. And through that, we saw a diversity of landscapes, so I knew there would be a nice variety, but this has blown past those expectations. Mainly because I just didn't think they would actually have that much variety. I thought there would probably just be an abundance of concept art, but in reality, maybe 5, 6, 7 planets to go to. And the planets they show off look absolutely phenomenal, including Mars, where you could find the old Curiosity rover, which is just epic. And although that did get me very hyped, this is definitely a good transition point to some of the negatives I did see. The planets looked really cool, especially when you had good focused areas that were handcrafted, but it's clear procedural generation will play a major role here, and a lot of those planets looked very, very empty. I wouldn't be shocked if a big part of the gameplay is going to a planet and there's just not a whole lot going on. Maybe a couple of new material types that you can mine or get somehow, some new creatures that you've never seen before in a distinct landscape, but based off this gameplay, it definitely looked like there was a lot of landscape with not a whole lot going on for some of these places, which, considering this is just the initial trailer, that does get me a little bit worried. I knew some planets would be like this, but I wonder how many of those 1,000 are like this. I have a feeling that upgraded colony or settlement system will come in play here, and you're meant to actually set up colonies here to give you something to do gameplay wise. The gunplay and the FPS are the two other major things that I didn't love the look of in this. There was definitely frame drops at some points, but more importantly, the gunplay just sometimes didn't look that good. It almost looked worse than Fallout 4 sometimes. The sounds were kind of weird. The weapons didn't look like there was a ton of recoil, and even enemy reactions were pretty muted. They kind of just stood there. Some of the animations overall, as you were kind of jumping around, or the jetpack scene we got, I wasn't a huge fan of. And although I didn't love the look of those things, it really didn't even matter to me, because everything else they showed off made it so even if the gunplay in Starfield sucks, I don't think I would care that much. They are definitely going back to their RPG roots with this one, having full-on backgrounds, which I was hoping they would have exactly like this. I love the background system as it is currently implemented, and even some of the traits looked really, really interesting. There's traits for you having a house somewhere, but you start with a debt, so you're going to have a mortgage to pay off, but a home of your own, and even a trait where your parents are alive in the world, but you have to give them 10% of your income. We only saw about 15 minutes of Starfield gameplay in total, but I already feel like there is just so much content in this game. I want to consider this almost as a sandbox game in a way. We're going to have that core story focus, but so much more to do. It gets me very, very excited. In particular, when you consider that Todd Howard has already confirmed mods are coming. I'm excited for Starfield in its own right, but Starfield modding is probably going to be an unprecedented time for modding video games. It just really seems like there's a lot of systems in this game that can be taken advantage of and modded to the extreme, especially when you just have 1,000 planets that could functionally be a blank slate for you. So overall, Starfield blew me away. Tomorrow I'm going to have a full and proper breakdown looking at basically everything in the trailer. I want to get into the nitty-gritty, every single detail. So get subscribed if you're interested in that ultimate breakdown. Although it definitely seems like Xbox knew Starfield was going to be the premier aspect of the showcase, and that is exactly why they put it at the end. Because the showcase overall to me was pretty mediocre. You saw Starfield, you got hyped, and you were blown away by all of the things they're doing with this game, so it left you feeling hyped and excited. Meanwhile, there was a lot of other points during the showcase I was bored or even just confused. Like Xbox is partnering with Riot Games, so now if you have Game Pass, you could get more features for an already free-to-play game? Like, I get it, I understand getting all the champions in League of Legends, real annoying, so being able to get all of them with Game Pass, great. But functionally, it's a subscription service for an already free-to-play game, so it's kind of hard to get excited for that. Forza looks really fun. I'm a huge Forza fan, I've been playing all of them since Forza 2, but they spent a ton of time focusing on the landscape, some of the surrounding foliage and the advancements made there, where all I really care about are the cars, to be honest, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, although the Pelican coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator is awesome. I love that addition. Overwatch 2, unironically, had probably one of the best trailers in the entire showcase, but the game itself doesn't look that good. It was just a very well made trailer in my eyes. And the game I will probably spend the most time playing outside of Starfield didn't actually reveal anything about the game itself. It was one of the few trailers that didn't show gameplay. That being Ara History Untold, which is basically Civilization 7, but not actually Civilization 7. I have thousands of hours in the Civilization franchise, and I absolutely adore games like this, but I have no idea what this game is. It kind of just looks like all the other real-time strategy games we already have that go through the ages. And towards the latter half, the showcase definitely started to lag for me, and I think one of the things that came into play here was that focus on only showing off those games that are coming in the next 12 months. Which in a way is a double-edged sword. I love that mentality, I love that style, but this kind of showcases that, at least for us open world RPG fans, which if you're watching this video and you're a fan of this channel, that's probably what you're a fan of. A lot of that content is over 12 months away. The only thing we really got is Starfield, which is a lot, but there's a lot of other games that weren't here that we hoped would be. We got a first look at Josh Sawyer's Pentiment, and although I wasn't a fan of this trailer at all, the game conceptually does seem really interesting to me and like a fun one to dump a few hours in when you get it for free on Game Pass. But of course, Avowed was missing. Avowed being the AAA RPG coming from Obsidian that's kind of like Skyrim, but set in the world of Iora, that being in the Pillars of Eternity universe that people are very excited to learn more about. And we even heard how we're hearing more soon. As Xbox did say, for those who are wondering about Avowed, the team is hard at work making something we're sure fans of our games in the Pillars of Eternity universe are going to love. While we're not showing anything right now, we are looking forward to showing off what we have been working on soon. So that gets me really excited, except they actually said this a year ago. Yeah, that was posted on June 13th, 2021. So we have different definitions of the word soon, but seems like Avowed may be coming a bit further in the future than we originally thought. It's already been 2 years since that initial teaser trailer, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's another 2 years before we actually get to play this game. And it seems like it's because it's having development issues. Earlier today, Jason Schreier tweeted out how Avowed has gone through some reboots and changed directors pretty recently. Don't know if it'll be there today, but I wouldn't expect to play it for a while. Expanding on a forum to say, Avowed has gone through multiple reboots and lost or replaced several directors and leads in the last year. And as I said on Twitter, that's why I don't expect it to be out anytime in the near future. But he describes how he doesn't really think it's going through development hell, perhaps just some development difficulties, which is definitely unfortunate when we had rumors it would be out in the first half of 2023 not that long ago. Definitely does not seem like it is coming out in the first half of 2023 anymore. That seems incredibly unlikely. And there's also an Exile's new game. They're working on some kind of AAA RPG, an Exile behind Wasteland 3, but also the original Fallouts. Very excited for what they're working on. It's going to be something cool, supposedly a steampunk RPG. And I actually think this is a pretty interesting situation. It was definitely a choice by Xbox. I think the trailers for an Exile's new game and Avowed could have been at this conference, and they would have been epic. It would have definitely elevated the conference overall, especially sprinkling those in the middle when things started getting a little bit slow. But I think Xbox really wanted to stay focused on that gameplay first mentality and only games in the next 12 months, and neither of those are probably coming in the next 12 months. Technically, Avowed still could be coming in late 2023, or even an Exile's game could be late 2023, probably not, probably 2024. It's a weird situation where, in my opinion at least, I kind of respect the fact that Xbox didn't show off these games that are still years away, but I feel like the conference overall definitely suffered as a result. So with that in mind, I found the conference to be okay. Starfield really stole the show. If it didn't have Starfield, it probably would have been pretty disappointing overall. Nothing else got me super duper excited, but Starfield did get me super duper excited, so that did play a big role in redeeming things. Either way though, those are my thoughts. These are just my opinions. I could be wrong about all of this, and I would love to hear from you guys down below. What did you think about this showcase, and what do you hope to see next from these companies? Are you disappointed Avowed wasn't there? Are you fine with them waiting to show it off? With that said, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.